After the peak of the pandemic, the trend of hustling, bossing, or simply working too hard has simply vanished. With the emergence of soft life culture, young adults are prioritizing slower lifestyles, less demanding jobs, and better mental health. When I think of the soft life trend on social media, I think of countryside living, quieter environments, and generally living a calmer life. While that lifestyle sounds intriguing to most, it's unrealistic for most people to quit their jobs, move to the countryside, and embark on the sweetness of doing nothing. Today, we're going to discuss some tips on incorporating slow life characteristics into your life. The slow life trend, also sometimes called the soft girl trend, is more than an aesthetic, but it's a culture that promotes relaxation, pursuing leisure, pursuing hobbies, spending more time in nature, and just letting go of productivity. Keeping that definition in mind is really helpful in helping us identify some key themes that can help us adapt to that more relaxed lifestyle. Now we're going to discuss some physical changes that can help us avoid that busyness. Heading straight into the tips, my first tip is waking up earlier. I know this one's tough for a lot of people, but I really think that giving yourself more time to prepare for the day, set good intentions, and just put yourself in a better mood significantly impacts your productivity, your stress levels, and just your overall feeling throughout the day. If you're having trouble waking up earlier, I would suggest trying to set your alarm back maybe 15 minutes earlier than you usually wake up, and try to wake up earlier in increments of 15 minutes and see how well you do until you can start waking up maybe an hour earlier. And what you do in that morning routine is completely up to you. For me, I think it's really helpful to get up and get some exercise and then come back and prepare for the day of work. For some people, it might be reading a little bit, listening to some music, meditating, reflecting, just having some moments to yourself. Tip number 2, keeping spaces neat and minimal. I think this tip is really about balancing making your work and living space feel clean but not sterile. So I would personally start by clearing out any garbage or any unnecessary objects in your work and living space. And then from there, you can start adding in natural decor or plants or, something that makes you feel calm. There's a bunch of studies about how the environment that you live and work in affect your mental health, physical health, and overall well-being. Even if you're working in like an office setting, which is not permanent, or maybe you have a cubicle or a desk, even doing small things like when you get in, maybe taking 10 or 15 minutes to make sure everything is cleared out and just really neat. Or if you work from home and maybe adding in some nice sensory elements like candles or plants around you that just make you feel calmer. There's a book by Karen Haller called The Little Book of Color, and it actually talks about how color really impacts a lot of things, like how people perceive you and even your own mood. If you just Google things like what feelings colors are associated with, you'll kind of find that having different colors in your working space or living space can really help intensify a mood that you have, or maybe balance out a negative mood that you have. It's really just a balance of, making sure that you're living and working in a clean space, and that overall helps your well-being. Tip number 3, having hints of nature in your work or living space. This might not be possible, especially if you live in a small apartment or maybe an urban setting, but having things around your house, such as small plants, fresh flowers, even just fresh fruits and vegetables that might be sitting on your kitchen table or in your fridge. Having lots of natural light if you're able to, switch out blinds or open up the curtains, really helps things like your productivity, your mood, and just kind of feeling more in touch with nature, not feeling like you're cooped up in a room. There's also a ton of studies about how nature is really beneficial. If you go out in nature for only like 30 minutes a day, walking or just being outside, that like significantly impacts your health long term. So kind of having those calming elements around you in your work and living space can really help you just feel better, feel lighter, feel more connected to something greater than yourself. Tip number 4, stimulating other senses to evoke calmness. I think we often take for granted our other senses. We typically focus on our sense of sight, focus on what we're looking at, what we're doing, and we don't think about how our sense of hearing, smell, touch can really impact our mood. So doing small things such as lighting a candle, spraying a fragrance, maybe listening to calm instrumental in the background to help you lighten your mood is a way of stimulating your other senses to make you feel calm, grounded, and maybe a little better while you're maybe at home relaxing, or if you're doing independent work in the office. And it really just helps you stay zoned in, focused, and kind of in your own calm world. Tip number 5, planning more slow activities with friends and family. So oftentimes when we meet with people, especially when you're adults, you plan a lot of eventful activities that are high energy because, especially when you're an adult, everyone is busy and you want to make the most of your time. While those are really fun, I think the emergence of chill dates are actually equally as meaningful as exciting high energy activities. Incorporating quality time like going to a bookstore together, an art exhibit, just having a stroll in the park after work, even if it's just like a calming phone call that you have with a friend or a family member, something that's really low energy. Activities like that are sometimes taken for granted and you don't realize how much you need that calm support in the people that you love. Planning chill dates alone, like solo dates, are a really big thing now. And I think that it really helps you tune into your calmness and the energy that you have. So generally, these tips are about making sure that anytime you have outside of obligations, outside of work, is really just about yourself, to kind of put the productivity aside and enjoy what you have. So aside from physical changes, we're also going to discuss some mindset changes that can help us adapt to a slower life as well. Tip number 1, preserving your energy for things you actually want to prioritize. So people who live that slow life on social media are often glamorized because it just seems like they have no problems. That's a very distorted image of reality, and transparently, no one has a problem-free life, right? We all deal with stresses in our life, and it's just about prioritizing what we actually want to spend our energy on, what's worth fighting for, what's worth throwing in the towel for. And it's really important to realize that you have the power to change that. This is really similar in practices of mindfulness and meditation as well. It's really about setting an intention to focus on what makes you happy, prioritizing what serves your energy or not. Tip number 2, learning how to time block. And I like to use it at work, but I think it's also important to use it in your personal life. So time blocking is creating a short list of things you have to do and then allocating a time as to when you're going to specifically do that. And this kind of ties into tip number 1 because you're prioritizing what problems need to be solved, how you're going to solve them, and just kind of kick that out and then focus the rest of the day or the rest of your time on yourself and the energy that you deserve to preserve. Tip number 3, getting in the habit of doing things with no pressure. Oftentimes when we pick up hobbies, we have the intention to monetize it or maybe get really good at it. But I think it's important to realize that you can do things in life just for you, right? Even if you're not good at it, it doesn't mean that you have to pick up a hobby or pick up an activity just because you want to be the best. Sometimes you can just do things to make yourself feel happier or feel lighter. Putting pressure off of a lot of things that you do in your personal life especially is really important, and it just kind of helps you enjoy the experience a lot better. Tip number 4, practicing mindfulness. So mindfulness is all about being aware or conscious of something. I actually have a video about that as well if you'd like to watch it on my channel. So you can be mindful doing something really simple like drinking a glass of water and being mindful that you're picking up the glass, touching it to your lips, drinking the water, and it's nourishing your body. So mindfulness is really important in living that slow, relaxed life because you're focusing on one thing at a time and you're realizing how your actions impact you for the better or the worse. Tip number 5, learning how to better organize your time. When you have a 9-to-5 or any obligations, it becomes really easy for your responsibilities to take over your life. I find it really helpful to keep a journal or a planner that really organizes my time, especially my free time, because as I mentioned earlier, I really like to prioritize what's most important to me. So I want to make sure that I'm using any free time that I have for something that's benefiting me. Well, those are my tips on the mental and physical changes that can help you live a slower life. I hope that this video was a gentle reminder that no matter what you do in life, whether you're a corporate worker, a minimum wage worker, a stay-at-home parent, or maybe you're just a confused adult, we all deserve time for relaxation, leisure, and peace. In fact, I hope this video helps you realize happiness exists wherever you foster it. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.